Antioxidants aren't there for you in the food. Antioxidants are there in the food for the food to prevent the essential nutrient of that food from oxidizing.
Not for you, it's for the fruit.
It's not for you. Your body makes antioxidants of its own. Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Jack.
And Mary.
And welcome back to the Forbidden Doctor podcast. This is podcast episode 143, Forbidden Musings.
Yeah, today we decided, like last week, we're just going to sit here and kibitz with you again with some forbidden information that we can't stop reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from our notes and...
Well, we were going to do something else this morning.
What?
And, well, we were going to be working on our... on the website and a few other things.
HSI, right?
And I started reading some notes from notes that I had jotted down in my diary or whatever you want to call it.
And they're so exciting.
And we said, hey, why don't we just do another podcast?
Well, you know, it's stuff that nobody knows. It's this forbidden stuff that we learn. And then we think, how can we get this out to the people? And, you know, in the past, before our podcast, we had no way. People would come in to our clinic.
One-on-one.
One-on-one.
Yep.
We tell them this really cool new information.
You could sit there for a half an hour.
With one person.
And one person walked out the door with a half an hour of your knowledge.
Super excited, yeah.
Yeah, so this way, we're reaching literally hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And so to all of those of you outside this country, welcome to the podcast.
It's forbidden
because
to them too.
You are all over the world. Now, there's a couple of places in Central Asia, and there's a couple of countries in Africa that have not picked up this podcast yet. But I'm telling you, everywhere else, we're looking for Mars and moon colonies to be picking it up soon. So, and there are, we use Libsyn and liberated syndication to handle the publications of our podcast.
Yeah.
And they show me, as I look at the thing here in front of me, who's listening or who's downloading the podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, out of, I think, was there 208 countries or something like that on the planet? There's just a handful. So we're going to send a letter to those governments.
Well, liberated syndicate, it sounds revolutionary, you know, almost like we're coming up from the ground. We're going to make a change foundationally with everybody's health.
Yep.
And like you told you on that podcast you did a couple of weeks ago where you said, you know, vitamins, food used to cure people. I mean, it was a cure for things. And now we don't have that at all.
Well, we don't have the vitamins.
No, except for with standard process.
We have fractioned chemical crystals that we call vitamins. They're not vitamins at all. They're just chemicals in a bottle.
But we still have them. And we still have food.
We still have food.
There's big problems with the food that we have now. The glyphosates and all the antibiotics and the commercial farming of animals is just the saddest thing ever.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. But we're going to find a way around it.
All right.
So
what I'm going to do is I'm going to surprise you because you don't know, honey.
No, I don't even know which ones you're going to read.
Coming at you. So I'm going to pull from my notes a couple of things that I think we can spend a few minutes talking about.
Okay.
And actually try to create shorter podcasts because that's the one thing I hear more than anything else.
So get going.
All right. So I was talking to one of my female patients the other day, and she is perimenopausal. She hasn't stopped cycling yet, but she's a little concerned about what to do for it. And I brought up the subject of Femco.
To do for what? What's the problem?
To help her get into menopause and get through menopause in one piece. But she's still cycling. Okay. She still has her periods. And
is she getting hot flashes?
They're starting. No, the hot flashes haven't started yet, but their periods are starting to get a little irregular, and the characteristic of the period, color, flow, things like that, are beginning to change a little. So I suggested using Femco. And Femco is just simply white peony and schizandra. And I
wonderful herbs.
Right. And I suggested using them in the liquid form because they also are really good for hair loss, which she has started to experience.
Ooh, so is ageless thyroid.
So I thought maybe you'd want to take a second about Femco and maybe Chaste Tree and throw Chaste Tree into the picture as well, because 3 months of Chaste Tree is known to help regulate an irregular period.
Well, yeah, and Chaste Tree will help balance out the estrogen, progesterone, balance in your body. We get way too many estrogens, and that's where all the breast cancers are coming from.
Yes.
There's an overabundance, and then our livers are all plugged up with fatty liver and all kinds of problems. And so we can't clean out the excess estrogens. So it's really critical. Chaste tree is wonderful, and it's got wonderful side effects. It helps with acne, and I know a lot of people have trouble with acne. Ageless thyroid also helps with that, along with the hair loss, but it helps with the acne, and it also helps you sleep. But it is wonderful for heavy periods.
Yeah.
It just will balance that.
No, we're talking chaste tree.
Chaste tree.
Okay.
Yeah. It will help balance that, endocrine balance out. We've always eaten plants, and herbs, but we've mostly used them for medicinal purposes. And this is one that goes back many, many years.
Yeah. Why don't you mention about how chaste tree became popular? Remember with the monks? And in the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
And the monks, people back then found that there were two ways to have a square meal every day. Number one, you went to work for the king's army.
Yeah.
And you'd get a meal every day. Or you became a monk in a monastery because they grew their own foods. They had the animals and the plants and everything else, and they could have food. If you were one of the peasants, you hopefully could get some of the thrown away stuff from the monastery or the leftover stuff from the army, because life, as I understand it, was kind of rough back then. So with that said, when you went into the monastery and you were going to devote your life to God or the monastic life or whatever else, you still had to deal with the male part of you.
Yeah, the sex drive.
The sex drive. And chaste tree, they found out when they gave these monks a daily dose of chaste tree, it would suppress their sex drive. Now, why would it suppress the sex drive? Because what it does is it reduces the testosterone drive. Sex drive in a man is testosterone, sex drive in a woman is testosterone.
We both have testosterone.
We have two different kinds of testosterones. A man has dihydrotestosterone, dihydroxytestosterone, which is what gives the facial hair and the male characteristics. But the basic form of testosterone gives you a sex drive, and that's where a woman's sex drive comes from. Mm-hmm. And so what chaste tree does in a man, you don't want to give chaste tree to a man. To a woman, it has, like you said, the estrogen-progesterone balance more of effect. But even men have estrogen and progesterone. We all have the same sex hormones, just one sex has more of one and the other one has the other one to a higher level, which is what makes us male and female. But the similarity between the two is the testosterone, which is where our sex drive comes from. Now, in a man, chaste tree will suppress the dihydroxytestosterone, which is testosterone on steroids for a man. So why a man is ready like that. Mm-hmm.
Women take a little bit longer.
Women take a little longer. And
but in a woman,
what the chaste tree does is it brings all those things into balance. In a man, it suppresses the extra sex drive that a man has.
Well, and if you're bleeding really excessively, you're way out of balance. Something is really wrong. And this is just a very natural way of bringing that in. So perimenopause, I think we do it, if I remember your notes right, 3 months?
Yeah. 3 months of chaste tree a day, oral. Mm-hmm. Which would be about 3 to 5 milliliters.
And make sure you get the liquid. It's much more powerful.
Yes, it is.
And then you do that in the mornings. Now, for postmenopausal women, which I am, I would do it in the evening.
Yes.
And I do it about I would say twice a week, sometimes once a week at night. I try to remember to do it more than that, but I forget. But it just helps you sleep better too. And all the estrogens we get in our diet from plastics and everything around us and the foods, we eat out a lot. We don't know what we're getting. So I've just found it helps with acne. It helps me sleep better. And I just use it to help balance out my hormones. Now, just a word about menopause too, that this lady is facing is, she should have hot flashes, those are important. A healthy female going through menopause will get some hot flashes. It doesn't mean you're not healthy. If anybody has a healthy endocrine system, it's me. And I had hot flashes for about 3 to 4 months, and they're no fun. I mean, they're almost like labor pains. It's the weirdest feeling. There's no way you can explain it except to go through it. But I sleep like a log. I don't wake up at night and until I went through menopause, and then I would wake up in the night because I I had a hot flash while I was sleeping, cleansing me out, in my opinion, and heating up and getting rid of the excess eggs. Now, your body doesn't heat up for no reason. It wasn't like my body was broken
Yes.
and I had a hot flash. So there's a very good reason, but I would wake up in the middle of the night because I'd need a drink of water because I had just sweated a whole bunch. And they seemed to be a little worse at night, and the worst part I missed when I was sleeping, which was I was grateful for. During the day, they're just so irritating. And I had them for 3 or 4 months. Now, I get women in our clinic that have had them for 20 years, and they're debilitating. It is some kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but it kind of feels like this crescendo, like a labor pain, and then bam, you're freezing. I mean, you're heating up to the point you're just like, I'm going to die. And then bam, of course, you're all wet, so you're freezing after that. And so they're not a lot of fun, but support your body with Chase Tree and Femco.
Yes.
And ageless thyroid, in my opinion, too.
Oh, well,
I didn't have ageless thyroid.
Yes.
When I was going through
right.
menopause.
And when I was taking these notes, we hadn't even thought of creating that, let alone waiting for it.
Yeah. So
now we have ageless thyroid to complement all of this, because
and good oils.
Ageless thyroid does not have the white peony or the schizandra in it, but it does have the glandulars to help regulate the HPA-T axis.
Yeah, and herbs without glandulars, in my opinion, that synergistic effect of both of those together, I think, is so critical, which is what we have in our ageless thyroid. The two of them together, we have the glandulars. By glandulars, I mean we have the actual glands from the thyroid, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the adrenals, and we also have the front part of the pituitary.
The anterior pituitary. And then we have the suprarenal aspect.
Suprarenal aspect too,
of the adrenal.
Yeah.
Plus the anterior pituitary.
And you combine those with the adaptogenic herbs we have in ageless thyroid, the bacopa and the ashwagandha.
Yes.
Which adapt to your stress, adapt to what's going on in your life.
Which is why this has been so popular.
Yeah. And then you throw in some good oil, and a cheap oil, inexpensive, I should say, not cheap, inexpensive oil would be Linon B6, which is the flax oil. And I think you need pretty much copious amounts of it. Yeah. And it's inexpensive. And I do that with the ageless thyroid, and I just have beautiful results.
And for you guys out there, Linon B6, the oil that's in there, the flaxseed, has also been shown to shrink the prostate. Yeah,
shrink the prostate, and also it's been shown to help in breast cancer. My book that's coming out, I have the reference and everything, the study that they did to show that it helps, do I dare say that scary word? Prevent breast cancer. But it's an actual study.
Yes.
So Linon B6 flax oil is just wonderful to go along with ageless thyroid, and Femco, which those are the herbs we don't have in ageless thyroid, can't hurt.
White peony and schizandra.
And then Chase Tree. I love the Chase Tree. And make sure you get the liquid on that. Okay, I'm ready for your next question.
All right, now this has no relationship to what we just talked about.
It's okay.
But it's an interesting announcement from the World Health Organization.
The WHO.
The WHO.
Well, I can tell you some stories about the WHO. Just real quick, Kate.
Who?
I had a patient, except for it was a patient of the clinic. I don't actually have patients. I'm not a doctor. But she came in, her husband worked for the WHO. You know who I'm talking about. Who? Anyway,
What's that dumb commercial on TV?
Who? Yeah. He's very, very sick. Anyway, but he worked for the WHO. She, of course, traveled all over the world with him, the World Health Organization. And she said she had to get vaccinations every time she went to a new country. It was just horrible because they thought they were saving the world, the propaganda. Right. It saved the world. So she had just found out she was pregnant, and they had to go to, I think, Africa or somewhere. And so she had to get a whole bunch of vaccinations to go there with her husband. And she was just like, okay, sure. Just gotten pregnant. Shot her up. I heard this from her own mouth. They went to the place, Africa. When she delivered that baby, she said it was so malformed, so deformed, it only lived about 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, my goodness.
And she says, I never put those two things together. I never put that I got all those vaccinations before.
Those chemicals cross the placental barrier.
I I just sat there with
almost everything crosses the placental barrier.
And these are the things that we want to tell everybody. I told other people after I heard that. Yeah. I told our whole staff. I told as many people as I could. I think I was still on the radio with you once a week. Then I think I said it then, but it was so shocking. It's one of those things that you don't believe it. It's like, no, but real life is,
yes,
is more shocking.
I'd forgotten about that.
So anyway, going with the WHO, because, we can trust them.
So they said the number one cause of mental retardation in the world, the number one cause.
I bet I know.
Of retardation, mental retardation in the world is iodine deficiency.
Yep. The Germans figured this out in the 1940s.
A pregnant mother to be, or already a mother, must have iodine supplementation. She either has to have a very rich ocean diet.
That's right.
Lots of ocean fish and vegetation, or they've got to take iodine supplementation.
Now you think about it. All civilizations grew up on the sea. Why? Because they would never starve. You could be the poorest peasant, and you could always get fish.
Well, the dumb ones that didn't survive grew up, in the middle of the countries without ocean water. But the smart ones, the Greeks, the Romans, the Medo-Persians, grew up on the ocean.
Dr. Guy Abraham called it cretinism.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But the Germans knew that you could stop Down syndrome, and we have so much Down syndrome. I think I talked about this last week. Yeah. But anyway... So that's a great one. Iodine, iodine, iodine. Dr. George Fleckis, he also said that you could raise your baby's IQ 10 to 15 points
above
higher.
The mother.
Parents.
Or parents.
Above the parents. Higher than the parents. You want your kids smarter than you? I don't know. Not when they're teenagers. You don't.
They're already smarter than you when they're teenagers.
Of course.
Yeah. We can just ask.
Isn't that what Mark Twain said? I thought my parents were the dumbest people on earth until I was like 27. Then I realized they were the smartest.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that was bad.
Okay, another note that I have here. There are 4 minerals that must be in every cell of your body for your body to work correctly. Now, we're mineral-based beings.
Mm-hmm. You could sell our bodies.
Yeah, minerals kind of get pushed aside with all the emphasis that we give to vitamins. Mm-hmm. And then we're worried about good fats and bad fats and clean proteins and processed proteins and good carbs and bad carbs. We often forget about the role of minerals.
Yeah, tell us about minerals. You have a fascinating explanation of minerals.
Well, every cell in the body is mineral dependent.
Okay.
Some aspects of our body require, bone obviously is calcium and phosphorus, but our blood cells, our hemoglobin is iron, the iron dependent. There's parts of our body that requires magnesium, parts of our body that requires zinc, parts of our body that requires copper. And in fact, there are some assertions out there, and I don't know whether there's studies to prove it or not, but I have read some reports that every piece of seaweed, every piece of sea vegetation, whatever minerals are in that vegetation, we grew up with and adapted to as we lived on this planet.
Evolution.
I believe we have been on this planet in the form we're in now for millions of years.
Okay.
There's evidence, very strong evidence for that that's being covered up. But aside from that, the minerals that occur in sea vegetation are the minerals that occur in our body.
Okay.
And the 4 most important ones are calcium, phosphorus, iron, and iodine. Every cell in the body has receptor sites for those 4 minerals: calcium, phosphorus, iron, and iodine. And they have to be in every cell in order for the cell to work correctly.
And you can't make thyroxine without iodine. And as I will explain in my book in much better detail, from a bad gut, your receptors for that thyroxine will be plugged up because there are microbes that excrete things that mimic thyroxine. And to the receptor sites in your body, they look the same or fairly close to the same.
They're in the same chemical family in the periodic chart.
And so they plug up all the receptors for that thyroxine, and your pituitary's like, we're not getting any thyroxine. Produce more, produce more, produce more. And so the thyroid just works and works and works, and then that thyroxine just flows around the body, cannot get in the receptors, and eventually is destroyed and taken out of your body. But your thyroid literally works itself to death. And then you go hypothyroid and you get exhausted and tired and everything else. And it all comes back to the gut. So, before we go on with the next incredible note that you have, just want to talk just a little bit about our symptom survey, because again, the one-on-one stuff that we did for years and years was wonderful for the person sitting in front of us, but we couldn't reach the masses. But now we found a way to reach the masses and still get that one-on-one support.
Exactly.
And that's with our symptom survey.
And if you are sitting there scratching your head right now, well, gosh, which one of these things am I deficient in? Calcium, phosphorus, iron, iodine? Do the symptom survey, because you could be deficient in other things that will show up as a symptom. Symptoms largely, for the most part, are not caused by bacteria and virus.
Right.
The bacteria and the virus shows up with a weak immune system that has already been hindered in its performance to some degree by some level of malnutrition or environmental poisoning.
And I know you guys think that we probably always just recommend going to the gut, and we do often. But honestly, on this first symptom survey, we will try to get you feeling better right off the bat. Then if you want to purchase, because the symptom survey is free, if you want to purchase more, consultations with us over the phone or in person or whatever, you're welcome to do that. We'll go deeper and more foundational. Although, if you write in when you do the symptom survey and say, I want a protocol for the gut, personalized for me and my symptoms, then we will do that.
Yeah.
But typically, it's not a really big protocol, but it's particular to you. So you're not wasting money on vitamins, that you don't need.
Because a lot of people will hear something on the radio or in some commercial somewhere, and they'll run off and go get this. And it's synthetic, so it's going to hurt them in the long run.
Yeah, in the long run.
And then they end up with a whole bunch of stuff sitting there on the counter, and, honey, where'd all this stuff come from? I don't even see you taking it.
And then we give you free a 30-minute phone consult that explains what we did, why we did it, and everything else. But you don't have to do the 30-minute phone consultation. People, of course, get nervous to do that. But we found if you understand what you're taking better, then you get better.
And if you decide to purchase those recommended supplements, you can get a 10% discount if you sign up for the text blast.
Yeah, and that's easy. You just text the word healthy to 41411. That's such a hard word to say, or number, 41411.
I'm amazed, even with myself, as to how hard it was to understand.
I know,
because I always want a big 10-digit number in the number line,
the phone number.
Yeah,
where you're texting.
Well, you don't have to have a phone number.
Yeah.
In the phone number line.
I didn't know that.
Just put in 41411.
And then down where you would send your text.
Yeah, where the text is, type the word healthy.
Healthy. And then you get coupons.
You get coupons back.
Every week.
Yeah, every week. Okay. Or you just, if all that's too confusing, just call the office, 801-523-1890, and they can help you sign up for the text blast.
Okay.
And it's your patronage of these offers that we're making that keeps this podcast on the air.
So back to the next note. Minerals were fascinated. Did you finish your explanation on the minerals?
Well, vitamins bring minerals into a chemical reaction. Mm-hmm. That's why why do we need vitamins? Well, I don't know. Why? Vitamins bring a mineral into a chemical reaction. Now, interestingly enough, even though the vitamin is depleted in that reaction, the mineral isn't. And the mineral, for the most part,
Iodine.
can be recycled to some degree.
Iodine's recycled.
Yeah, and some minerals get locked up in, our waste matter, and they go out through the colon, which is why you need a constant supply of minerals. But a lot of minerals are recycled. But it's the mineral that gives life to the plant. It's the minerals in our bloodstream that give us the electrical potential that allows voltages to move through the system, especially the sodium aspect.
Allows our immune system to work.
Aspect. Yes, that there are some minerals that are predominant, like calcium for one. Other trace minerals that we hardly need any of at all, but we still need it.
Because they're so devoid in our food.
They're devoid in the food, but they have a very small role to play in the body, but a very, very important role to play in the body. So anyway, I want to move on here. I want to mention a couple of things about antioxidants. We have a podcast on the antioxidant scam. Yeah. I don't remember what number that is. But antioxidants still, there are fads that come and go in medicine, and there's fads that come and go in clothing and music, and there's fads that come and go in supplements and the alternative health world. And one of the big fads that came running in was the antioxidant fad, and I don't need to repeat what's in that podcast because Mary's looking through the 100-plus podcasts that we have. And she'll give you the number here in a second if you want to listen to it. But antioxidants will kill you. Antioxidants aren't there for you in the food. Antioxidants are there in the food for the food to prevent the essential nutrient of that food from oxidizing.
Not for you, it's for the fruit.
It's not for you. Your body makes antioxidants of its own. The most powerful antioxidant your body makes, and it's in every cell, is glutathione. Mm-hmm. And when it has the free radical, the reactive oxygen species, the ROS, that's a result of normal metabolism going on in the body, your body has glutathione there to keep these things under control.
Yeah, let your body do it. Don't take these copious amounts of antioxidants. You know the best antioxidant in the world is duct tape over your mouth and over your nose.
Yes.
So can you imagine why would you want to stop
almost
oxidation?
All reactions in the body of major energy production are oxidizing reactions. Mm-hmm. And why would you want to stop
Why would you want to stop that? So, you know what we have here is number 92, how vitamins can lead to malnutrition. That's probably goes into antioxidants, but I can't find the one on antioxidants.
You know what this is a sign of? We have too many podcasts. So anyway, the thing I wanted to mention is that there are some studies that show that people who are on a lot of antioxidants are actually killing the enzyme that makes tyrosinase. And tyrosinase is the heart and core of the whole food vitamin C complex.
Now say that again. People that take a lot of antioxidants
are killing the actual enzyme that makes another enzyme called tyrosinase. And tyrosinase is the enzyme that breaks down tyrosine, one of your very important amino acids.
A protein.
That is the heart and core of vitamin C, and its antibacterial, antiviral effect in what's called, here's another big word, chemotaxis. One of the most important things of whole food vitamin C is it helps the macrophages do their job in the immune system. Those are the little scavenger cells that are moving all around. Chemotaxis is the ability of a cell to move itself, to get up and move.
So it'll hurt your immune system.
Vitamin C is necessary for that. Antioxidants kill the enzyme. Lots of the artificial ones we take orally will kill the enzyme that produces tyrosinase, which is the heart and core of the whole food vitamin C complex.
And so, ironically, vitamin C is one of those antioxidants we take copious amounts of.
Oh, yeah.
The ascorbic acid. Just ascorbic acid. Oh, sometimes they throw in rose hips, though, so.
Yeah.
And vitamin E. We talked about that a couple of days ago, or a couple of weeks ago. The vitamin E antioxidant, the horrible synthetic one.
Yep.
So stay away from those. That's a swear word around our office, antioxidants.
Yes.
We rip out the duct tape and here, stick it over your mouth. Stick it over your nose. Don't get any oxygen in your body. Good grief.
All right.
Okay, go to the next one.
The next little gem here. The first gland in the body to show weakness from malnutrition is the adrenal.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the adrenal is such a regulatory gland in the sense of sympathetic aspects of our life because it produces epinephrine. It produces
the fight or flight.
Adrenaline, right? Mm-hmm. And it produces cortisol. And cortisol will help with your stress. Cortisol will help with the runaway aspects of our emotional, nervous life. But it also will give you the get up and go immediately if you got to run for your life.
So
So
that's interesting. So that's the first one that fails.
The first one to show a weakness, in
that's
a
better way.
malnutritive diet.
Okay.
So how would that be manifested? Number one, you enter into a type A personality kind of person and you can't get out of it. You end up in emotional cycles that are really, really strong and quick to anger, quick to fly off at the handle.
Your circadian rhythms get off. You can't get up in the morning, but you can't fall asleep at night.
Things like that.
You crave salt.
Now, the craving of salt is one of the biggest signs of adrenal insufficiency.
Wow. So again, it's in our aegis thyroid.
And how does the craving of salt show up? You may be craving potato chips. You may be craving salted nuts. Anything that gets salt quickly into the body, you may have your cravings focused on.
Great. So it's interesting to know, my daughter, who did have complete adrenal failure and almost died, and fascinating story. I think I've told it before. We got her back in about 3 to 4 days with about $2,000 in standard processed products, but we did get her back. The hospital did nothing. They gave her antibiotics and a benzo drug to put her to sleep because she hadn't slept in like 7 days. And they gave her Prozac. You like that? Yeah, that's what the hospital. They wouldn't admit her because she didn't have insurance. So here I am telling the story anyway. But she always craved salt. We always had when sitting down at dinner, if we wanted to find the salt shaker, it was by my daughter. It was always by her plate. Salt. And she wouldn't eat pepper at all. Even to this day, she doesn't like pepper very well. She married a chef. So she's starting to like pepper a little bit, but that gets the digestive juices going. So she had a double whammy going on here for most of her life. And then it resulted in absolute malnutrition. I think they were living off of, this is a different husband. They were living off of, I think, $20,000 a year. And then she got exposed to some really bad toxicity in a home they were living in. The state came out and told her to leave that afternoon. Don't even sleep the night in that home. And they stayed 2 more months. And that's bam. That's when she had the adrenal. And it was the first one. Her thyroid didn't fail. So that's interesting. I had forgotten that.
Okay, honey, that's fascinating because I remember when she came out here with us.
Yeah, she called me.
The care we had to render for her.
Yes, she called me and said, "Mom, I'm just calling to say goodbye. I'm dying."
Yeah.
And
you want to know?
I know her well enough. She wasn't. This was it.
She doesn't exaggerate.
She had called me 2 other times and said she felt really bad, and I was like, "Well, you got a husband. She lived in Chicago, far, far away from me." And I said, she goes, "Well, I can't afford any SP, standard processed products, and blah, blah, blah." And so I said, "Well, I can send you some." Anyway, it was about 5 days later, she called me to say goodbye. Gee. And she was dying. And I got on the first flight to Chicago, and she was so bad off that she answered the door on her knees. See, I'm crying just thinking about it.
Well, and
her husband was gone. He was gone. He left a day earlier. No food. Opened up the fridge. There was ketchup in their fridge. It was very sad. And she had a little toddler, my only grandchild. And I called my other daughter who lived in Texas and flew her up to help me. And it was the scariest thing I have ever been through. The hospital would do nothing, wouldn't admit her. She should have been in ICU. And for what they could have done, I don't know. But I put her in the bathtub 8 times one night just to wash her down. I mean, she's a grown woman. It was so bad. The adrenals, man, how powerful are they?
Oh, they are.
And then I called Standard Process, and I got an order the next morning because they're right by Chicago. They're in Wisconsin, 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'm not kidding. It was $2,000 order. And she started chewing up. I mean, we didn't mess around with swallowing pills because these are just food. Yeah. And she started chewing up cardiotrophin and drenatrophin, which is for the protomorphogen for the adrenals. We figured that's what it was. We didn't know. But now you've concurred. I mean, that's the first gland to fail. Yes. And many other things. I have on our website, the adrenal support. In fact, I think I'll go in and edit that a little bit, but it's a really good support on our website.
And this is one reason why teenage kids, I think, to some degree, are so nuts today because of the kind of diets that they eat. And it's reflected in the adrenal malfunction.
Malnutrition. It's the first one to fail. Yeah, so we got her better. We flew her back here to our house. I was there, 3 days? And no, I guess I was there longer than that, maybe 4 days. And we flew her with my little grandson back here to our house, and she stayed here for another week. But after about 5 days, she was pretty much better, except for occasional, we had a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, but here's a real in-your-face, hardcore example of what we're talking about.
Yeah, it was very sad, and she knew how to get better, but she couldn't afford it, and yeah. So, okay, let's go to the next one. Something happier.
Yeah, so let's end on a little happier note here.
Okay.
Well, it is happy because look at her now.
Yeah, I mean, I saved her life.
She's the lead singer in a rock band.
She is. Talk about adrenals. We saw her last week.
Yeah,
she rocked for 4 hours.
She just jumped and bounced around all over that
stage. Where is she getting this energy from?
Yeah, well, I'm aware.
Yeah, so you
saved your daughter's life.
I did. I know I did. She's gone on to save her own life since then. She's done wonderful things, but regardless, let's move on to...
Okay, I want to mention one more thing here about... Now, we've talked about Cataplex F many times in the past. Cataplex F being the antagonist to vitamin D. Vitamin D brings calcium out of the bloodstream and out of the gut out of the tissues and out of the gut into the bloodstream for transportation around the body. Cataplex F does exactly the opposite. It pushes calcium out of the bloodstream. In the heat, you need a lot of Cataplex F. If you've got muscle cramps and spasms, you need a lot of Cataplex F. But interestingly enough, when you look at a bottle of Cataplex F and you look at the ingredients in there, and it's a very fatty product, there's also bovine prostate extract.
In Cataplex
F.
Bovine prostate
extract.
In
Cataplex
That's
F.
Gross.
Now, that's...
No, I knew that, but...
Well, a lot of...
Tell us why, Jack.
I'm baiting the audience right now.
Okay.
I want them on the edge of their seat because they're going to fall over when I tell them this.
Okay.
You'll see a lot of standard processed products have tissue extracts in them from various mammals because that's how we developed along with these animals. Why is there prostate extract in a Cataplex F? Because the tissue from which the male prostate gland arises from and is made out of is the exact same tissue as in the female G-spot.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, so we need to feed that, baby.
Yeah, so if there is any...
Feed your woman.
Any level of sexual dissatisfaction, besides, you married a bum. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Because there's sometimes I think you look at me like
we're ending on a high note here. So this is exciting. Sexual libido.
If there's any kind of, it's not so much libido, it's sensitivity.
Okay.
If there is a loss of sexual sensitivity on the part of the female performance in sex.
Enjoyment.
There's the word I'm looking for, enjoyment. It could be addressed with some Cataplex F in the diet.
We don't perform. We just enjoy.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so essential. You're all flustered.
All right, I'm all flustered.
Okay, so Cataplex F has prostate extract.
Has prostate extract in it.
Well,
prostate. The prostate helps to regulate and balance calcium movement throughout the body, not just vitamin D, but the prostate gland is one of the heaviest reservoirs of calcium in the male body. But because of the fact that the female G-spot is made exactly out of the same tissue,
does it regulate
when
calcium?
Sexual differentiation.
Or is it just our parathyroids? We don't get the extra regulation. Men need it. We got to keep the men alive. They got to keep performing. See?
Yes, there you go. Now you
threw me such
a curveball there. I can't remember what it was I was trying to say.
Let's hurry and finish this, because we need to go. Never mind. Okay. So that's good. Take your Cataplex F. Help your libido.
but it's the calcium distribution throughout the body. And remember, calcium is the only mineral that has a gland to regulate its level inside the body.
Yeah.
It's how vitally important calcium is.
In both male and female.
Right, but the prostate helps to regulate calcium in a man. Besides the parathyroid glands, obviously,
that's what I was saying. You got
effect.
Extra help there,
but
unless the G-spot helps with that.
I know what I was talking about. Sexual differentiation that begins in the first few weeks of life after conception, and there is a certain hormone that is released. See, we all start out as female.
Yeah,
we've talked about
pretty
that
cool.
before.
One little hormone makes a boy a boy.
But males have a little hormone, as you just mentioned, that's released after the first few weeks of conception. But the tissue, the not the genetic, but the I can't think of the term, but the development of tissues that become part of the male sexual organs arise from the same tissue that becomes part of the female sexual organs. They just develop differently, obviously, but it's the same tissue origin from the same kind of germination of that tissue. And so what becomes the prostate in the male becomes the G-spot in the female, both of which have important calcium roles to play.
Oh, the females too.
And so in cataplex F, there is prostate. This is what I've been trying to say till you threw me that big curveball.
Me? I didn't do anything. I don't perform. I just enjoy. I'm enjoying you. Go ahead, continue.
So the prostate in cataplex F is designed to trigger nourishment in prostate and G-spot tissue, male or female. That's what I was trying to say.
You got it out. Whew.
Yeah, I said all of that to say that one sentence. All right, that should do it.
Okay, and don't forget to go to our website, forbiddendoctor.com, and take a look at the symptom survey. Take it, tell your family and friends about it. And remember, your patronage of our offers keeps this podcast on the air. So, real quick, the disclaimer: the statements made in this podcast about specific products have not been evaluated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. All information provided or any information contained on or in any product label or packaging or this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professionals.
And thank you for listening to this forbidden information.
Join us
our forbidden podcast.
Join us next time for another in-depth discussion where Jack will perform and give us all the forbidden information knowledge he has. We will see you then.
Thank you for listening to the Forbidden Doctor podcast. If you are curious about long life energy enzymes or ageless thyroid, you can purchase them without a membership from our website at forbiddendoctor.com or get our enzyme formula from amazon.com by searching the full term Long Life Energy Enzymes. Don't forget to take our obligation-free symptom survey to get a free personalized supplement protocol recommended for you by Dr. Jack, Mary, or one of our qualified nutritionists. Take the survey, get a call from our nutritionist to create a protocol and a patient login, then use that login to see your own personal protocol along with any favorites you've saved from our symptom library. Remember, our website and our clinic are here for you always.